Hello friends, I am Professor DG Trivedi going to teach you in your semester number 6 paper PH 6503, and in this paper there may be unit number 1 electromagnetics, electrodynamics. In this paper we are going to study from the book B.B. Loud. The title of the book is Electromagnetics, and in this book the part of the chapter 5, that is electromagnetic induction, is taken. 5.8 is the Maxwell's equations. 5.9 decay of free charges. 5.10 potentials of electromagnetic fields. 5.11 more about the Lorentz gauge conditions, and 5.12 field energy and field momentum are taken from this chapter. So from the B.B. Loud, chapter number 5, 5.8 to 5.12, these are the 5 points are taken from this particular chapter. Then in a chapter number 6, that title of the chapter is electromagnetic waves. That complete chapter is in your syllabus. In this chapter, 6.1 is the plane waves in non-conductive media. 6.2 polarization. 6.3 energy flux in a plane wave. 6.4 radiation pressure and momentum. 6.5 plane waves in a conducting media, and 6.6 the skin effect. These are the topics are taken in chapter number 6 of B.B. Loud. Then from the chapter number 9, there are two topics. The title of this chapter number 9 of electromagnetics B.B. Loud is this: electromagnetic radiation. This is your chapter number 9. And in the chapter number 9, retarded potentials and radiation from an oscillating dipole, these two topics are taken. Then another book well known to you, that is Introduction to Electrodynamics by David J. Griffith. Some of the topic is taken from this book. Chapter in this book is also the chapter number 9, and here electromagnetic waves in matter, this is the topic. Propagation in a linear media, reflections and transmission at normal incident angle, and reflections and transmission at oblique incident angle are taken from this book. So this was your syllabus for unit number 1 in PH 6503. Now we are starting from B.B. Loud, that is the first topic of B.B. Loud in chapter number 5, that is 5.8 Maxwell's equations. Little bit about the Maxwell's equation. In the last lecture of your semester 5 we have studied. We have taken that one from the Griffith. Now this is taken from the B.B. Loud. What was the Maxwell's equations? To starting with the Maxwell's equations, the important things, the laws which is governing electricity and magnetism. That is the basic laws you have to understand. The first basic laws is derived from the Gauss's law on integral form, and then it comes to the differential form. That is divergence of B is equal to rho. The second law is similar but for the magnetic field, that is divergence of B is equal to 0. Third law, the Faraday's law of induction. Curl of E is equal to minus del B upon del T. And the fourth important law for the magnetostatic, that is Ampere's law for magnetomotive force. Curl of H is equal to current density J. Now, to try to understand this law, what is Gauss's law? If you consider that Gaussian surface, which is a closed surface enclosing some volume, that is known as a Gaussian surface. It can be any shape. It can be any arbitrary shape which is enclosing a some volume. Inside that volume, there may be a charge density is continuously and non-uniformly distributed. That means we can say that it is a function of position vector from a reference point. Rho is a function of position vector from a reference point r dash. The total charge is nothing but the volume integration of rho d tau over the entire volume. Now, what is the Gauss's law? That is equal to the surface integration of E dot dA, that is equal to sigma qi upon epsilon 0, or integration of rho d tau upon epsilon 0. That is your Gauss's law. What is the surface integration of E dot dA? Surface integration of E dot dA, that is dot product of the two vector electric field at particular area elements dA and area elements dA. Dot product is nothing but the flux coming out from that surface element, and it is taken over the entire surface, that is called the total flux coming out of that surface. That is equal to the total charge enclosed inside this volume upon epsilon 0. That gives the relations between the electric field and charge density, which physical interpretation you can consider like this. Electrical charge is responsible to produce an electrostatic field. Electric field in a region of the space can be produced because of the electrical charge. Or you can say that electrical charge is responsible to produce an electric field, is the source of producing the electric field. This is the Gauss's law. Similar result if we see the equation number 2, that is divergence of B is equal to 0. Now what does it indicates? If you compare with the first law, that is the surface integration of B dot dA, that is equal to 0. That means the flux coming out from the surface is going to be 0. That means there cannot be a magnetic field because of magnetic charge. Magnetic charge does not exist. Monopole does not exist. It means there cannot be a magnetic monopoles. Only there can be a magnetic dipoles are going to be exist. That means the magnetic field lines, which is going to be the continuous magnetic field lines, originating from the North Pole, going toward the South Pole, and inside also bar magnet. It is going from the South Pole to the North Pole, and that way it completes the loops. That means magnetic field lines are continuous magnetic field lines. Electric field lines are not continuous field lines. In electric dipoles, it may be generating from the positive charge and ending toward the negative charge. So this is the difference between the magnetic dipoles field lines and electric dipoles field lines. But it indicates that there is no magnetic charge which can produce magnetic field. This we can understand from the Gauss's law and corresponding law for the magnetic field. Divergence of D is equal to rho and divergence of B is equal to 0. This comes from the surface integration you can consider mainly or flux. What is the third law? Faraday's law of induction. That is curl of E is equal to minus del B upon del T. Electric field can also be produced from time varying magnetic field del T of magnetic field B. That means the time variation, there is a rate of change of the magnetic field which also can produce the electric field. So there is another source from where the electric field can be produced. If the magnetic field is changing with respect to time, that can produce the electric field. So this is the Faraday's law of induction. You have studied that the magnetic field lines or magnetic flux, magnetic field linked with a coil is changing with respect to time, then the EMF is going to be generated d phi by dt, right? That is nothing but the EMF. So this you have studied that with respect to some coil, magnetic flux is going to be changing, that can produce EMF and hence the electric field can be produced. This is the Faraday's law of induction. So the previous two laws was with the dot product with the del, and these two laws are with the cross product with the del. Del cross E and del cross H is equal to J, which was found out by scientist Ampere. He said that magnetic field can be generated by moving charge. Stationary charge cannot produce the magnetic field. It can produce only electrostatic field. But when the charge comes into the motion, amount of charge passing through a area of the cross section, then it will produce the current. And this current is responsible to produce a magnetic field. What is the current density? Amount of charge passing through unit area of the cross section in a normal directions is called current density J. So the surface integration of J dot dA is nothing but the current I, and this is your Ampere's law. Del cross H is equal to J. This actually established from Biot law. Now, what is the three things here? The first three of these are general equations and are valid for static as well as for the dynamic fields. Now you must understand the difference between static field and dynamic field. One thing you should be known that static charge can produce a static electric field, and that means if the static electric field is there, it is a function of position vector r. That means it is independent of time. At one particular position vector, that electric field is going to be constant with the direction and magnitude. But if it is a time varying electric field is there, that means at the same point, even at different instant of time, it is changing. That means electric field is a function of position vector r and t. This is called a time varying electric field. Similar thing for the magnetic field. So static electric field and static magnetic field is there, then we cannot study about the electromagnetic waves. But here we are going to interested for electrodynamics. where the time varying electric field and time varying magnetic field will be there. So the equation 1, equation 2 and equation 3, they are valid for static conditions. But equation 4, that is Ampere's law, for magnetomotive force, curl of H is equal to J, is valid for static conditions because it was derived from stationary current distribution. But it fails to explain when the current is changing with respect to time. And hence, so many confusions was created. This confusion was cleared by Maxwell, and he added a new term in equation number 4, and that new term is called the displacement current density, del D upon del T. This is the displacement current density. How introduce this one, that we are going to see here. The first three of these are general equations and are valid for static as well as for the dynamic conditions. The fourth equation was derived from steady state observation, and we have to examine its validity for time varying fields. Now we are moving to the second slide. How can we say that it is not obeying for time varying fields? For that, we have to understand the equation of continuity. Equation of continuity is nothing but, you can say that, conservation of the charge. And all conservation laws, conservation of charge, conservation of mass, conservation of the momentum, conservation of the energy, these are taken as a postulates. They are always true. So that validity we cannot change. We'll understand this law, Ampere's law, in terms of conservation of this charge or equation of continuity. Now let us take divergence of equation number 4 on both the sides. So taking the divergence on both the side of the equation 5.48, we have divergence of curl of H is equal to divergence of J is equal to 0. There is a important identity regarding del and dot and cross product, that if you take a divergence of curl of any vector function, that is always 0. So this is the divergence of curl of H. H is a vector function. So this side, left hand side, it has to be 0. It means that divergence of J has to be 0 in all conditions. In certain conditions, it is true, but in all conditions, it won't be true. That means it fails to explain this identity. That means if you are taking the divergence on both the side of equation number 4, Ampere's law, then left hand side, it has to be 0. That means right hand side also it has to be 0. But let us see what happens when you apply on equation of continuity. This indeed is true for steady state phenomena. However, when the currents are changing with time, the results is incompatible with the principle of conservation of the charge reflected in the equation of continuity. What is the equation of continuity? This equation you have studied. Divergence of J is equal to minus del rho upon del T. If you take it this side, that is equal to divergence of J plus del rho upon del T, that is equal to 0. What is del rho upon del T? Rho is nothing but volume charge density. That means the time rate at which the volume charge density is decreasing is equal to flux coming out from that volume every seconds. Divergence of J is nothing but something which is coming out through the surface enclosing that volume which contains that charge density. So this is the equation of continuity. This equation of continuity is true in case of steady state phenomena. Steady current. What is the steady current? If I draw a circuit with a simple battery, DC battery, if I am connecting with a resistance, and then what happens? If in between that circuit I connect a ammeter which is measuring the currents. That means what is the current passing in the circuit? the current passing in the circuit will be V upon R. I, according to Ohm's law, I is equal to V upon R. This current is a constant with respect to time. This current does not change with respect to time because the resistance is linear components. And hence, the Ohm's law is a linear law. And the current remains constant. It is independent of time, so it is called a steady state current or steady phenomena. In that case, this equation of continuity is true. Then the current passing through any cross-sectional area is going to be constant. That means amount of charge according to the Kirchhoff's law, amount of charge leaving from any area of the surface or any area of the cross-sectional surface of a conductor is equal to amount of charge entering to any area of the cross-sectional surface of that conductor. That means the charge density rho remains constant. Rho is not a function of time. That means del rho upon del t is equal to 0. And if del rho upon del t is going to be 0 in this equation, we can say that divergence of J is equal to 0. And that means this equation is going to be satisfied. Divergence of J is equal to 0 in case of steady state phenomena. So Ampere's law is true for steady state conditions. There is no problem. Now, the circuitry which we have prepared, that with the DC battery, I have connected a resistance and emitter. But instead of resistance, I replace this resistance by a capacitor or inductor, like non-linear components. Then what happens? Then, if I am connecting with the capacitor starts charging, but capacitor starts charging exponentially. And you know that initially the charging currents will be larger, and then after the charging current is decreasing exponentially. That means V is equal to V0 e raised to minus RC. That will be the equations. R is the value of the resistance of the circuit which is charging this capacitor C, which is in a Faraday. So what happens? This capacitor is charging exponentially. That means in a current meter, the current will not be a constant. It is not a independent of time, but the current is changing with respect to time. And if this current is changing with respect to time, what happens? The amount of charge, which is rho, which is also becomes function of time. It is not independent of time, and hence del rho upon del t is not going to be 0, but it is having some value. And because it is having some value, del to make this equation true, divergence of J is also not going to be 0, but divergence of J is equal to minus del rho upon del t, and as del rho upon del t is not going to be 0, magnitude of divergence of J is also not going to be 0. That means what happens to this equation? This equation cannot be explained here. That means this Ampere's law fails to express the dynamic conditions or when the current is changing with respect to time. And then the Maxwell appreciated this situation and suggested a way out. Maxwell appreciated this situation and suggested a way out. He realized that difficulty arises from incomplete definition of the total current density in equation 5.48. That means this equation curl of H is equal to J is incomplete definition of Ampere's law. Ampere's law has to be modified. So he started in a different way. He started from the equation of continuity. What is the equation of continuity? Divergence of J is equal to minus del rho upon del t. This is the equation of continuity. He started from this one because it is a postulate. It is true always. So we started from that one. Now the equation 1, divergence of D is equal to rho. That is true in a steady state conditions as well as in a dynamic conditions. In both conditions, that law is going to be true. So he substituted rho is equal to divergence of t, that he substituted in equation of continuity. Now what happens? This equation becomes divergence of J is equal to minus del T of divergence of T. Now you try to understand what is the del means. Del is nothing but a differential operator. I've talked in F5 if you remember that it is a special kind of operator which differentiate any vector functions. Del t, del x of I caret plus del y of j caret plus del z of k caret. That means it is differentiating the functions with respect to x, y and z coordinates or r theta and phi coordinates. That means it is a space coordinates differentiation will be there, and del t means it is a time coordinates. That means d is the displacement electric field. If it is a dynamic, that means it is a function of position vector r as well as time coordinate, four coordinate system you can consider. And now if you differentiate first with the space coordinate and then time coordinate, or you can change the order, you can differentiate with respect to time coordinate first and then you differentiate with the space coordinate, it makes no difference. That is going to be equivalent to each other, and hence these equations which was here we can replace to these equations. So here it was differentiated with the space coordinate first and then time coordinates. Then we can interchange the order of differentiation with time coordinate and space coordinate. Remember always, because this we are going to utilize every time. So this can be written as divergence of minus del capital D upon del T. This side minus sign, you can take it outside, you can take this one on this side. This side, left hand side also it is divergence of J, right side also it is going to be divergence of something. So that can be taken this side, and hence the divergence of J plus del capital D upon del T, this is equal to 0. So this total inside the bracket has replaced the J current density. So Maxwell's replaced J in Ampere's law by J plus del D upon del T. With this modification, Ampere's law takes the form curl of H is equal to J plus del capital D upon del T. This is modified Ampere's law, or this is modified by Maxwell, and hence all these equations are known as the Maxwell's equations. In these equations, now he has given the name. J is called the conduction current density, and del D upon del T, which is a time variation of displacement electric field, which is arising from the time variation of displacement electric field, which is called displacement electric current density. So both are designated as a current density. This is conduction current density and this is a displacement current density. Del cross H is equal to J plus del D upon del T. The law in this form is valid for steady state conditions as well as for dynamic condition also. So steady state phenomena and is also compatible with the equation of continuity for the time dependent fields. The term J is generally called the conduction current density, and the second term del D upon del T, which arises from the variation of the electric displacement with time, is known as displacement current density. So now I think you understand that how Maxwell has modified Ampere's law, and then he satisfied that all these four laws which are governing electrodynamics or electric field and magnetic field may be static conditions or may be a dynamic condition. That means it is a function of only R or it is a function of R and T. In both the cases, all these laws are governing the electrodynamics, and that's why they are known as the Maxwell's equations. Now the question is this: J, the conduction current density, which was given by amperes. How it was produced, the conduction current density? Free charge in a motion. The free charge, electrons, may be passing through any area of the cross section. Amount of charge passing through any area of the cross section in 1 second is said to be the current, that you know. So that way the conduction current density came into the picture. That means real charge, the free charge in a motion. Now the question is this: what is del D upon del T? That cannot be produced because of the free charge in motion. So which cannot be measurable also. With this normal current meter, amperes meter, millimeter, micrometer, you cannot measure this current density. Then why it is named as a displacement current density? There is a reason for that. You can understand through the problem of capacitor. So here, what exactly is implied by the displacement current? The displacement current does not have the significance of a current in the sense of being the motion of the charges. It can be vividly demonstrated by considering a simple circuit such as in the figure 5.11, which shows a charge capacitor whose plates are joined by a conducting wire. The current flowing in a conducting wire is equal to the rate of change of the charge on a plate. So this is two parallel plate capacitors. Area of the plate is going to be A, and the capacitor is fully charged. Consider like that way, it is fully charged. So one plate of the capacitor, there may be one type of the charge plus Q charge will be there, another type of the plate, another charge minus Q charge will be accumulated. And because of this charge is going to be stationary on the plates, you can say that between the two plates the electric field is going to be exist. What amount of the electric field will be there? You already derived these equations in 11th standard or 12th standard. That electric field is going to be almost uniform electric field between the two plates of the capacitor, and that is equal to sigma upon epsilon 0. Sigma is the surface charge density, charge per unit area, and charge per unit area, that means what is the total charge is going to be Q. So it is uniformly distributed because it is conductors, and hence total charge Q upon area, that is going to be the surface charge density sigma will be there upon epsilon 0, that is nothing but electric field which is existing between the two plates of the capacitor. So now with respect to this, now if the capacitor is going to be connected externally from the two plates by this kind of conducting wires, what happens? Capacitor start discharging immediately. There is very high leakage resistance in the capacitor. So there is a RC time constant and capacitor start discharging, that means current is flowing in the circuits, and that current is flowing inside the plate of the capacitor also to discharge the capacitor. So what is this current, etc. will be there. The current which is flowing in this capacitor is going to be the time rate of change of total charge Q. The amount of charge on the plates which is going to be decaying now, which is decreasing now with respect to time. So dq upon dt, that is called the current by discharging current to the capacitor, and after certain times capacitor is totally discharged. So let us understand this one. What exactly is implied by the displacement current? The displacement current does not have the significance of a current in the sense of being the motion of the charge. It can be vividly demonstrated by considering a simple circuit such as in a figure 5.11, which shows a charge capacitor whose plates are joined by a conducting wire. The current flowing in a conducting wire is equal to the rate of change of the charge on a plate. So the current I is equal to, this is instantaneous current, dq upon dt, because it is changing with respect to time. It is a time varying situation, you can say that. So, I is equal to dq upon dt, where q is the charge on a positive plate of the capacitor. The charge on a plate is related to the field in the capacitor by this equation. I told you E is equal to sigma, which is surface charge density upon epsilon 0, because between the plates, if there is air or vacuum is there, so permittivity of the vacuum is going to be 8.85 into 10 raised to minus 12. Epsilon 0 is going to be placed over here. Sigma is equal to Q upon A, which can be substituted here. So, E is equal to Q upon epsilon 0 A, where A is the area of the plate. Therefore, I is equal to dq upon dt, making the subject of the formula Q here. This is equal to epsilon 0 A del E upon del T. And if this epsilon 0 is going to be multiplied with E, that is electric field, then this becomes a displacement electric field, because you know the equation that vector D is equal to epsilon 0 vector E. So, this way the electric field and displacement electric field are related. So, if you take this epsilon 0 inside this one with E, then it becomes D. So, this becomes A into del capital D upon del T. This is a vector, remember here it is not mentioned, but it is bold. So, it understood that they are supposed to be vector quantity. Now, if A is taken on the denominator on the left hand side, I upon A, that is equal to del D upon del T. What is I? Current, and A, area of the plates. That means current through unit area of the plate, that is current density. So, this is represent as some kind of current density. So, I upon A gives the current density, current passing through unit area of the cross section, that is called current density. And hence this term, even if it is a displacement electric field which is diminishing with respect to time, that means per second the amount of displacement electric field is decreases, and that is equal to some kind of current density, and that is why it is named as a displacement current density. Now, I upon A gives the current density, hence the quantity del D upon del T can be interpreted as the density of some type of current, which corresponds, for example, to the current which must flow in the space even in a vacuum between pair of the plates of the capacitor, where the charge plates are connected by wire, thus completing the conduction current density. Normally, you know that for a free charge in a motion, it requires a conductors. That means in a free space, that charge in a motion cannot move. That means the current cannot be established, steady current cannot be established. But here the electric field can move, the time varying electric field can move in a space, and that is why it is known as a conduction current density, which is moving even between the two plates of the capacitor. Also it is working like a closed switch, and that is why it is written that as a density of some current which corresponds, for example, to the current which must flow in the space even in the vacuum between a pair of the plates of the capacitor when the charge plates are connected by wire, thus completing the conduction current. And you know that electromagnetic waves, that means time varying electric and magnetic field, are propagating in a vacuum also, in a space also, that is called electromagnetic waves. The idea of relative size of the two type of the current in a conductor is obtained by considering a copper wire in which there is an electric field E is equal to E0 e raised to minus I omega t. Now, we will see what is the significant difference between the conduction current density and displacement current density. That means we will take a ratio of magnitude of that current density. The conduction current density, which is produced because of the free charge in motion, and displacement electric field current density, which is because of the variation of displacement electric field. Conduction current density can be measured with the meters. That is a sizable. That's why you can measure it in a milliampere, in a microampere or nanoamperes. Currents can be measured through the meters. But displacement electric field current density cannot be measurable. Why? Because that relative size is very, very small, and that we are going to see through this derivations. Consider that a copper wire is taken, and if there is a current is flowing in that copper wire, conduction current is flowing in that copper wire, you know that electric field can be given by this equation. Time varying electric field E is equal to E0 e raised to minus I omega t is there. This is your time varying electric field exists in a conductor copper wire, which is having a conductivity which is named here sigma. Now, what is the relations between the electric field and current density J, conduction current density J? That is given by J is equal to sigma E. Sigma is the conductivity of the material, that means copper wire here particularly. So, sigma is equal to J is equal to, J is a vector quantity, remember, conduction current density, that is equal to sigma, that is conductivity of copper wire, and is the electric field which can be substituted in this form. So, sigma E0 e raised to minus I omega t. Now, we want to compare the relative size of the two currents, relative magnitude of the two currents. So, we will calculate the magnitude of the conduction current density, because this is a complex value. We can take a modulus of J square, that is equal to sigma square into magnitude of E0 square. This is the magnitude of J square will be there, or conduction current density magnitude will be there. Similarly, displacement electric field D is equal to vector is equal to epsilon 0 E, and E is equal to E0 e raised to minus I omega t. I can substitute. Now, displacement electric field current density, that is equal to del D upon del T. So, you have to differentiate this displacement electric field with respect to time. So, differentiating this one, you will get epsilon 0 E0 into e raised to minus omega t, and you have to differentiate this equation. So, you will get minus I omega will come out, and that means the magnitude is going to be I omega epsilon 0 E0 e raised to minus I omega, that is differentiated with respect to time. Now, you take similarly here, if you take a magnitude of this one, that means del capital D upon del T, modulus of this one square, that is equal to omega square epsilon 0 square E0 square, like this you can consider. Then you take a ratio of this one, that means magnitude of J upon magnitude of del D upon del T. Magnitude of J upon magnitude of del D upon del T, that comes out to be E0 square will be cancelled out numerator and denominator. So, you remains sigma upon omega into epsilon 0. What is sigma? Conductivity of a material. For a copper, sigma is equal to 5.9 into 10 raised to 7 ohm meter. This is the conductivity of, or ohm inverse actually, meter. So, this is the conductivity of copper wire. Omega is the frequency of the time varying electric field, 2 pi f, and epsilon 0, where it is nothing but 8.85 into 10 raised to minus 12. So, power is minus 12, and here the numerator power is going to be 7. So, what happens, minus 12 when it comes to the numerator, it becomes 10 raised to plus 19 upon omega. So, if you forget about the values, this is going to be 6 and this is going to be 9, you can see that epsilon, whatever it is, 0.3 into 10 raised to 19 upon omega approximately. That means the conduction current density is very, very large, 10 raised to 19 times to the displacement current density, even if the frequency is going to be taken to be very, very large. Even the frequency is going to be in the megahertz or gigahertz. Megahertz means 10 raised to 6 and gigahertz means 10 raised to 9. Still, the conduction current density is very, very large compared to the displacement current density. That's why conduction current density can be measurable, but displacement current density you cannot measure with the simple meters like ammeters, etc. Then what is the role of del D upon del T? It has a very wide role in electrodynamics. So many uncovered electromagnetic phenomena was actually investigated because of the displacement current density. And it explains the electromagnetic waves which are going to be propagating in a space or vacuum. And that way the electromagnetic waves are nothing but the light is also electromagnetic waves that can be explained through this displacement current density, and so many electromagnetic phenomena was uncovered. Thus, the ratio is very large for all frequencies. Displacement current, therefore, are not as significant as the current due to the motion of free charges in the study of continuous circuits. They have, however, far-reaching consequences in other respects. It is mainly due to the additional term in Ampere's law that a rich variety of new electromagnetic phenomena was uncovered or new electromagnetic phenomena was investigated. These four equations now, which the field vectors capital E, capital D, capital B and capital H satisfy everywhere. That means in a steady state conditions as well as in a dynamic conditions, time varying conditions, these equations are true and valid, and that's why they are known as Maxwell's equation. The first equation is divergence of D is equal to rho. The second equation similarly divergence of B is equal to 0. The third equation curl of E plus del B upon del T that is equal to 0, and the fourth equation curl of H that is equal to J plus del D upon del T that is going to be Ampere's law modified. These equations are fundamental equations of electromagnetic fields and are known as Maxwell's equation. Now remember. Okay friends, now we will take one example related with this one. The example 5.4. Seawater has a resistivity sigma inverse. Reciprocal of the conductivity is called the resistivity, remember. So here resistivity is given and the form of conductivity inverse 0.3 ohm meter, and its dielectric constant is going to be 81. Seawater which is having a dielectric constant is going to be 81. Find the ratio of the amplitudes of the conduction and polarization current intensities, that is magnitude, when the applied electric field is oscillating at the frequency of 100 megahertz. 100 megahertz means 100 into 10 raised to 6 hertz. That means 10 raised to 8 hertz, you can say that. The oscillating electric field is having a frequency of 10 raised to 8 hertz. Now, that means we can take E is equal to A sin omega t. Time varying electric field is going to be there, which is having angular frequency 2 pi f, where f is equal to 10 raised to 8 hertz will be there. A is the amplitude, intensity, and t is the time. This will be omega t is total phase. Initial phase you can consider 0. The conduction current density J is equal to sigma A, that is equal to sigma A sin omega t. What is polarization density? You know that you have studied in a previous classes that but epsilon 0 chi E electric field, that is equal to chi is nothing but electric susceptibility, and there is a relationship with electric susceptibility with the dielectric constant epsilon that is equal to minus 1. Epsilon r dielectric constant, right, that is equal to 81. So epsilon r minus 1, that is going to be the quantity 80. Epsilon 0 is the permittivity of vacuum into electric field. current density, that is equal to dP upon dt. So if you differentiate this equation, that is time rate of change of the polarization is nothing but polarization current. So you have to differentiate this one, and then you have to take the ratio with it. So polarization current is going to be epsilon 0 epsilon r minus 1 d upon dt. This you have to differentiate with respect to time. That is equal to epsilon 0 epsilon r minus 1 omega of omega. That's the equation of omega t and equation of omega t, that is omega without, that is omega of t. So ratio is part of 0 upon dp upon t. That comes out to be sigma in the numerator or denominator epsilon 0 epsilon r minus 1 a omega will be omega t for low angle theta. Hence, we can consider that this ratio is like this: sigma a upon epsilon 0 epsilon r minus 1 into a omega. A will be cancelled out here. Sigma is given, sigma inverse is given here. That means you can write here sigma inverse, sigma is equal to 1 upon 0.3 ohm meter. This is the resistivity is given. So you can put in terms of the conductivity, it is inverse, so 1 upon 0.3. Epsilon 0 is nothing but 8.85 into 10 raised to minus 12. Epsilon r minus 1, that is equal to 2 pi, and f, that is going to be 10 raised to 8 hertz. So this is, if you make a calculation of this one, it comes out to be 7.5. What it indicates? That means the conduction current density is 7.5 times larger